All right, bang, bang. U.S. Open just ended the first major of the 2021 season, even though it is 2020. That is kind of par for the year. Only had a couple people under par. The course played as hard as we thought it would. It went down really good for us in a lot of ways because we picked, I think, 7% had 6 of 6 through. And if you follow us on Slack or if you follow us here at DFS Dads or premium member, you would have got 6 of 6 through. We made sure to, especially get in the Slack, get everyone's lineups right and looking good. And Zalatoris, our 6K play, made the cut. I know a lot of people were on him. A lot of sharp people were. But he came through for us clutch to make sure our lineups all got through, along with some luck from Paul Casey for some of us. But nonetheless, we all made really good money in PGA this last week. So going from a tournament where there was no scoring to now wide open fairways and a lot of scoring. But let's rewind back to that U.S. Open. I think me and I believe Dustin's bad play of the week was to fade Bryson. I said Bryson's going to have to win. I'm going to fade him regardless. I didn't think he was going to set up well. I was going to hit in the rough a bunch. And when that rough is really tall and penalize him. But I was wrong there. But still, 6-6 got through. So we all made some pretty good money. What was your takeaway there watching that carnage, Dustin?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the same camp as you as far as Bryson. To see him, run away like that was a little shocking to me, given the type of course he was playing. But it was fun to watch. Obviously getting 6 of 6 through. I had Paul Casey in my lineup as well. So, seeing him barely make the cut, was a little edgy. But at the end of the day, when you get 6 of 6 through in a tournament like this and you make money, kind of can sit back and watch it and enjoy it. And it was fun. It's kind of fun to see the pro struggle some, make them feel like me when I'm out there. But so overall, great tournament for all three of us, and this next one's going to be vastly different. But Bryce, what was your takeaway?
Oh man, I had the right pieces. So pretty much everyone I wrote up did great. The only people who missed the cut were, I think, Ryan Palmer and then Herman at 6,200. But I guess we should have known when Bryson said on Wednesday that he's just going to bomb it and hit out of the rough because the rough, he can handle it, that we should have at least looked at him.
Yeah.
But crazy for him he won by 6. She shoots 6 under. Wolf's the next closest at even. Stupid me for switching off Wolf and going to Lowry. That was a huge mistake on my part. But I decided to go with the veterans who have been through tough courses. So I went with Casey and Lowry. If you had told me Thursday night that Casey was going to end up being my second best finisher, I would have never believed you. And then Zalatoris, I told the guys in the Slack Wednesday night, hey, I'm officially switching to him in my single bullet. And he ended up tying for 6. He tied DJ. The dude he had a great tournament. He looks like he's going to be a stud coming up on the tour whenever he actually gets to play. And, overall, it was awesome. Great tournament. Like you said, I'd like to see them actually have to struggle a little bit. It's nice to not just come out and shoot 30 under, 22 under, which is probably what we'll get this week. But great first major. Looking forward to Bryson winning at Augusta now.
Yeah. We were also able to make some money in Showdown. So Bryson didn't make me money in the main slate, but I played him in Showdown. Was able to turn $10 into $100 there in the Showdown. I don't like to play big money there, but so that was nice. So if you don't follow us on Twitter or in Facebook, we give out free plays on Showdown for all these rounds. So even if you're not a premium member, go to DFS Dads on all the social medias, Facebook and Twitter. Find us, follow us, get those free plays, and a little glimpse into some help on building out your lineup. So, Price, what's the breakdown though? Let's moving forward. It's gonna be a little bit shorter pod. The field's a little weak, and it's only Monday, so we got a lot more research to do. A lot more. We got to do a lot more deep dives here. What you got for us?
All right, so they're down in the Dominican Republic this week. It's the Corrales Golf Course in Puntacana. So it's usually hosts a Corn Ferry Tour events, and then it's usually like a one-off. It's almost always the week after a major where most of the top guys don't come play. So this is a pretty wide open course. It's on the coast, so you'll do have some wind. There'll be some water in play, but I mean, it's a beautiful course. You really need guys who are going to score on the par fives. I believe the two in the front nine are where most guys make up their ground. The back nine, they're a little bit longer. I think they're over 600 yards, but the ones in the front are barely over 500, so reachable into by everybody. So you still want to look at the par five scoring and then bogey avoidance. I know it's a little bit easier course, but you don't want some guy who's just going to waste shots away when it should be minus 17 to 18 for the winner. It's weird greens. It's, I don't know if I'm saying this correct, Pong. So it's not the typical bent or Bermuda or Poa. It's a different green. There are a handful of guys in here who have played in the, they have like 2 years. So they've only played 3 here the last 3 years. You have a few guys who played 2. Not many people have played all 3. But should be night and day difference from last week, where you have one guy under par last week. You should have the cut around like -3, -4 this week. But it's going to be much easier. You won't have a winning score of like 430. You'll be closer to the 650 range, back to normal this week. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a very, very weak field. Zalatoris is the highest price guy. So
6,800 at 10.9.
He gets a $4,200 bump.
Yeah.
And he was on TV for like 6 shots.
Yeah. You're not going to have a GPP winner make 5 of 6 this week. That's just insane.
How insane is it that 5 of 6 won the Millie Maker?
That's insane.
Crazy.
Insane. 5 of 6. That's not going to happen this week.
Yeah, the reason is because the scoring was so low, though.
Correct.
Yeah, all about placement points. And Patrick Reed and Wolf just killed me the last few days. My money was going from like 5,000, 3,000 by end of Sunday, right there at 1,000. But anyway, so let's get to the top of the range here. Well, we started talking about Zalatoris, and he dominates the Corn Ferry Tour, right? So this is kind of like a Corn Ferry event. Is he going to come out and dominate this just like he does those events?
He's the odds-on favorite. I mean, but to be determined. I mean, obviously he played great at the majors, so I think he's going to be up there. But paying close to 11,000, it's hard to swallow. But this is one of those weird tournaments, and we've talked about it, where you're paying this money for these guys, and you're like, man, it's hard because most weeks you're paying
7K.
Yeah, 7K and in that range. So, I wasn't sold on him last week, and it burned me. I know both y'all went all in, and I still had 6 of 6, but I wish I would have swapped them in for sure with the 6th finish. But I'm gonna fade him again, so make it be that what it may be. Y'all might want to go all in on him now. But in the top end of the price range, I like Sam Burns. I can smash it off the tee. You're not really worried about the rough and that being so wide open. It's a long course, I think 7,600 or something. And so I kind of like him in that spot. And I know that's your boy, Chris. So I'm sure you'll have him in some of your lineups too.
Yeah. I'm going to do a single bullet this week. I think you need to understand what kind of field this is, and if you're comfortable, you can have less lineups. That's what I'm going to do. I'm still going to play for probably around the same amount, maybe a little bit less, but I'm just going to run one lineup this week. I don't feel like I'm going to get to lineup construction of having 3 to 5 lineups this week. Not a major. So I'm going to stick with the single bullet lineup kind of prices strategy there. And yeah, I mean, the world starts and ends with Sammy Burns. So I don't care what his price is. At 10-1, he's still underpriced. So I'm going to start my lineup with Sam Burns and then work my way from there. And he hits the ball, just crushes off the tee. And what I really like about him, the reason why also he scores a lot of DraftKings points. And that's what this week is about scoring. Unlike last week, it's completely different. And he is in my model here, number 1 in the field on DraftKings points. He's also number 1 on par 5. So I'm looking for him to just destroy this course. And at 10-1, that might seem like a lot at first, but it's an $800 savings off Zalatoris. I am worried about his ownership level. It looks like it's going to come in. It's still real early, but it's going to come in really high. So that's my one concern about wanting to not play Sammy Burns, especially in single ball with just him. But I think we can get a little bit different at the bottom end of our lineup that we'll get into.
Yeah. I think he got 12th last year too, right? So he's got some good course history.
Yeah. The ball's going to fly too.
Oh, man, you go from getting to pick DJ, Rahm, JT to Zalatoris, Connors, Hughes, and Burns. Man, I want to play Zalatoris, but not 10-9. If he even priced like $9K, I bet he'd be like 30% owned. But I think it's a little overreaction how well he did. I mean, if you think about it, he gained 3 strokes just on the hole-in-one, and then he almost had another hole-in-one the same round. That pretty much saved him from probably finishing 20th to finishing 6th. So a little inflated on the numbers there. I would rather play Mackenzie Hughes than Burns. Hughes did good here last year. Burns is going to be twice as owned. And Hughes played great down the stretch, especially in the playoffs. So I'd rather go with that. He has better tournament history, better form. And I'm going to go out on a limb and fade old Sammy Burns, who I really want to use, but after actually digging in and looking at everything so far, I think Hughes is the sneaky route to go in the 10K range.
Oof. Breaking my heart, Price. I'll tell you about a range that if you're going to play in the 10K, the Sammy Burns or Mackenzie Hughes, this 9K range is kind of hard to get up there to get a 10-1, 10-3 player, and then especially the upper end from the long to the Grillos.
It's a great range, I think. This is out of all the price ranges, this is probably my favorite. Straka rates out great for me. Stinson rates out great, but I don't want to use Stinson. He has not played well since the restart. I'm usually team never Grillo, but it's going to be close if I click him or not for my single bullet. Because this is a course he does well on. He does well on like the alternate courses where it's a shitty field and he can finish top 2. Adam Long rates out good. He played good last week. I think finished nothing worse than 50th the last 6 tournaments, so he's made every cut. Really, the guy who intrigues me the most is Thomas Dietrich. He's a Euro stud. I think he's made all but 2 cuts, has a handful of top 10s. He was top 10 going into Sunday, then shot like an 80 at the U.S. Open. So I think that might fuel him to come in and, fire some lower downs here. I guess my favorite would be Charles Howell. He hasn't really played that well besides, the 1 week where he went off. Other than that, he's not been good in the last, 4 months.
What about Ventura? I know you're a Ventura kind of guy.
I would rather play Straka than Ventura.
I agree.
Straka rates out better, and he's going to get his DK point. He's top, I think, 6 in the field in DK points. So I'd rather take that route.
What about you, Dustin? Where are you at?
In the 9K, I like Straka. I've kind of liked him all year. He's one of those that rates out well in the par 5s, off the tee. And so I kind of like him here. He's had a pretty solid year. And so he kind of sticks out to me in this price range. I'm kind of going to stay away from Henrik Stenson. I know he's going to be more of a popular play because of his name. He's been around. He plays a lot. But for me, I'm I'm not digging him this week. I just don't think that that he's going to play well. It's kind of one of those deals where some of these guys are coming over. It's in the Dominican Republic, some of the, more well-known names, even though there's not a ton. And, maybe they vacation a little bit in between, playing in the tourney. So, no, all joking aside, if I had to pick one from the 9K, I'm going with Sepp, just because of his length off the tee and kind of his game throughout this year. I think he's played pretty good. I mean, I know he's had a couple miscuts, but I think it's a field where he can really score and make some waves.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to go right there with Dustin with Sepp as well, mainly because he's going to put up some DraftKings points, and I think with this week, I'm just going to get some scores. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy the Sammy Burns and Straka, and I have a couple 7K guys down here that I really like, so I'm going to be able to fit in a second golfer. So I like that he's at the bottom end of the 9K range. The top end in the 9K range, I would definitely go with Adam Long. He rates number 2 in my model. I think he's not going to, with a single bullet, I think Sammy Burns is going to beat him out. But he does rate 2 in my model, number 4 in DraftKings points. And that's if I'm going to go in the top end range. I like him over Grillo. I understand Price's sound theory behind why Grillo is a good spot to play. But that's where I'm standing in the 9K range. The 8K range has our boy Zhang, who's been showing out for us. Yeah, Norlander. So what are we thinking about here besides a couple of the obvious that the Zhang is definitely the one that pops out amongst all three of us.
I think Shank is a decent play. He's finished 35th and 36th the last 2 years. I don't know if he's missed very many cuts his last 6 tournaments. He plays pretty consistent. Really like Norlander this week. He's popping on. He's number 4 for me in short swing approach, 60 to green. So he rates out 10th overall. He doesn't have as many rounds accumulated, but he's still high up there. What sucks is Hoffman's number 2 in my model. And last time we played him, he's just shot like a 10 over.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what I wrote about in the first look. It's either you get good Charlie or bad Charlie. Which one is it? If you get good Charlie, he's going to finish top 10. But if you don't, he's going to miss the cut. Luke List is super interesting as well at 8,700. He's just so good at everything besides putting. I mean, he's the only guy I know who he can pretty putt from 2 feet.
Terrible putter. Terrible.
And then Matthias Schwab, I think, would be a nice sneaky play. I don't know if he'll be very high owned, but he's just a tee to green monster. He's the same thing. He kind of struggles putting, but I mean, someone who's always going to get on the green in regulation. I'd rather have someone who gives you birdie looks than someone who doesn't,
For sure.
Yeah, Luke List, I know because we kind of talked about him before. When you look at his putting, you're like, holy cow. I mean, he lost almost 8 strokes, a couple, PGA and then the Wyndham, and he hasn't been positive since. So it's kind of scary. He's pretty good at everything else. Obviously, he's long hitter. So he kind of scares me. I like Shank, like you said, made, I think, 6 straight cuts. And, rates out well in my model. I think he's top 10. So I'm kind of leaning him in the 8K range just because, he seems safer. He's obviously, like you said, top 30 last couple of years. And then he's just been pretty solid. Not a great putter either, but I just think that, in a weaker field, he can kind of overcome that. And at 8,000, especially in a field like this, there's going to be some glaring problems in their game as far as, they might be good at everything and then terrible at putting. So, in the 8,000 range, I like Mr. Shank. Norlander's another one that sticks out to me. Has played pretty well all year. He was pretty hot there for a couple weeks. About a month ago. Hoffman rates out really well in my model too, but kind of one of those deals where, you're scorned from the last time you picked them. So, but you got to put feelings aside when you're putting together a lineup. So I'll revisit it. This 8K range really interested me because I think that's where you're going to build your core. Unless you want to go down to some really known guys. So, yeah, I like, and then obviously Zhang just because we've loved them all year. So it's an interesting tier for me, and I think I'll change my mind on some of them by the more I get into the research and the analytics. But the top guy for me right now, if I had to pick, would be Adam Shank. Christopher?
Yeah, according to my model, that should be Charlie Hoffman. However, like I said, a couple guys in the 9K range I like, and Zhang just keeps eyeing me. Now, it's so interesting. He had 4 missed cuts, and then he got 10th at the Memorial, then 12th at the 3M, then had 3 straight missed cuts, and then got 14th at the Safeway, where he made me some moolah. So I'm very tempted to go back to him at the 8,400 range. I like that price point, especially in this weak field. I think that's a very good price for.
And he finished 5th. So he played here 2 years ago, not 5th.
And got 5th. Even more reason. So that's where prices. I mean, I was already picking them. I guess I'm official. We're picking Zhang, and we're just moving on. So any last words, Bryce, from this range?
Yeah, if he wins, we're changing our intro to Zhang from now on.
No, it's gotta be bang bang, Mr. Zhang.
We'll teach my kid that.
Yeah, exactly. We gotta post that video. So the 7K range, I got a few stars here. We'll start with you, Price.
So I don't really like anyone in the top end. The only person who I really like from 7,600 up is Will Gordon, just because of his ability to score. He doesn't have any accrued rounds, and that's what I'm looking for. But just his pedigree coming out of Vanderbilt, he's a stud. And this is a field where he should do well. He's got, take advantage of the actual starts he gets while he's on exemption. So I think this is a good spot for him. Chris Baker's another guy I like. He's played well lately. Rates out pretty well for me. I mean, these guys usually want to get like top 25 and they pay off, and I think both these guys have that ability. Next guy down, I'd like. So Bronson Burgoon was going to be my guy, but he withdrew. So that just changed everything I was looking at, unfortunately. The only other person I really like, I don't even know if I really want to use him, would be Ben Martin. He's right at 7K, ranks 21st in my model. I mean, he's top 20 in tee to green, par 5s. Birdie's a better game than DK points in his last 24 rounds. So that's something I think could pay off at 7K. Really, at that price point, you need a top 35 for him to pay off. And if he's hitting the ball that well, he should finish top 20. But other than that, it's a tough range, to be honest, because, I mean, this field is everyone just – these are guys who typically in a normal event, you'd be like, there's a high chance they missed the cut. So the difference between someone like Denny McCarthy at 9,600 and, Ryan Armour, Ben Martin, like there's not that much of a difference. They're usually priced around the same. So this is a week where you can leave a ton of money on the table and still have a chance to get 6-6 and still have 6 guys in top 2. Because, I mean, when the number one or highest priced guy is a Corn Ferry Tour stud who has made like 2 starts on tour, followed by Corey Connors. It's going to be one of those weeks where I think 66 is going to be super low because it's just going to be so many people missing the cut who are priced higher up who you wouldn't expect to.
Yeah. That's a good game theory too there, Bryce. I would say to go along the lines of DraftKings points is what I'm looking at. Will Gordon, the Vandy guy, I think he's going to be a stud. He is a stud, and so I really like him at the 7,600. He raced out pretty well on my model. Even right below him, Keith Mitchell, 6th in DraftKings points in my model. Someone to look at there. And going a little bit down further, 7,400 Naismith. I don't think you touched on him, but he's 9th in my model. Approach 4th, bogey avoidance, which is one of the key stats that we're looking at, is 9th. So some of the stats pop out here. His putting isn't atrocious either. It's not bad. So Naismith is kind of someone I'm eyeing at the 7,400 range. But other than that, like there's a ton of people in this range, and it's hard to figure out. It's hard to narrow it down here, and that's kind of where I've narrowed down my the golfers I'm looking at. But this is a tough range. Like this is a really tough range to choose from. What do you think, Dustin? Have you narrowed anybody else down?
Yeah, I like Vegas. Rates really well in my model. He's first and off the tee, strokes gained. He hits it a long way. 5th in opportunities gained. Kind of an up and down year, obviously, but anybody in this range is going to be like that. And so, I like him at that price point. Somebody that can, he's 21st in DK points as well. So kind of, checks a lot of the boxes for me. I'm looking for guys that can hit it a long way, make a score. And so I like him. Obviously, Will Gordon, kind of on the same track as y'all. His putting's been kind of bad, but hopefully turns it around. So those are kind of the main 2 I was looking at. Percy, I was kind of looking at too. I know he played well in his last tournament, and then a couple of miscuts before that. He's just not super long off the tee, so kind of got to dig into a little more of the stats. But he translates well in all the other in my model, all the other stats. So another guy I'm gonna look at a little bit more in this range. But right now, Vegas is my top guy with 7,000 range.
Now we get to the super tough range of the 6K people.
All right, I'm out of here.
All right, we'll let you start us off here, Chris.
All right. Vaughn Taylor, 7th in DraftKings points, birdie or better, gained 4th, which is interesting because he's 105th in par 5, but he ranks high in my model at 17. So at this range of the 6,800, I wouldn't mind taking a flyer there, especially if you wanted to go someone in the 10K and then high 9K range. You might have to dip down here. And Vaughn Taylor is the guy I'm eyeing early here on Monday. But we're definitely have to do a lot more deep dives to dig into the 6K range. But that's my initial play. What about you, Bryce?
There's a few people I like down here. Hudson Swafford at 6,700. I'm kind of surprised he's 6,700 in this field, to be honest. He's more of a well-known player, ranks 30th in my model somehow because he struggles at par 5 and at birdies or better gained, but he's good tee to green. He's number 6 in approach in his last 12 rounds for me. Michael Gligic. I don't know how to say his name. He's fucking 6,500 and he rates well for me. Kramer Hickok. He did well here last year. He's had a few turns where he's popped in the last couple of years on tour. He's just a guy who can score whenever he actually gets rolling. He's 10th off the tee for me, 19th tee to green. Kelly Craft is, I think, a sneaky play too. 2 top 5s the last 2 years here. And then Jamie Lovemark and George McNeil are probably my last 2. Lovemark actually rates 7th for me. He is top 13 in everything except approach. So he's 8 tee to green, 3rd par 5s, 1st off the tee. He just, if his approach shots aren't going well, he's not going to score well. But at 6,300, he makes the cut. He allows you to fit in, Sammy Burns and then, Adam Long or Grillo or someone else up there. And then George McNeil has played well here in the past. He's just, these guys, you're just playing them hoping they make a cut. But like I said, there's really not much of a difference between George McNeil and Johnny Vegas. Like in the grand scheme of things, they have the same amount of miscuts.
Smells like a bet's coming on.
Same upside.
Yeah, you're attacking me like that.
Yeah.
All right. I'll compare him to Ju Young Kim, who's 8,200.
There you go. That's better.
That's way better. I thought you were about to say Zhang Zhang. I was about to really get defensive.
They're about to be riots. No.
We got another bet going on or what?
I'll tell you what. I'll take Kelly Craft against Johnny Vegas.
Deal. All day.
All right.
What's the bet? People want to know.
Next round of golf, Dustin has to pay. And it's not going to be a cheap municipal course.
Wednesday, Chris.
You sound like you have something in your throat. You might need to see a doctor about that.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up.
All right, Dustin, you got anybody down here you like?
No. I'm just kidding. I'm looking at Mr. Josh, and he's Mr. Teeter. He's 3 of 5 on cuts. He's always kind of near the cut line, but he rates okay in my model. 6th in opportunities gained, 6th in strokes gained on par 5. So that's kind of the reason I'm going to deep dive into him a little bit more. And see kind of where that goes. I really don't want to take anybody in the 6K range, but come later in the week, it'll to be determined, right? If I think 2 guys at the top are going to be better than an 8,000 guy, and then I had to end up taking a 6K guy, that's kind of the the balance of it. So. But right now that he's the one that sticks out to me at 6,800, and obviously do a little more research as the week goes on.
Definitely say check out our deep dive, because this week more than any other week, especially if you don't know golf from the Korn Ferry Tour up, some of these either young guys or people who have just teeter on barely making the PGA Tour, or qualifying in. That's where the deep dive is really going to separate everybody. So take this pod as the first measure, and then go check out our deep dive. If you haven't, go to DFS Dads, use code RC, route combo. Any of those will work to get a nice discount. We have NFL and the official PGA Tour season has now kicked off. So we are rolling over here at DFS Dads. So appreciate y'all watching all the way through, and we'll see y'all. We'll see y'all.
Before you end it, if you're going to bet, Sepp Straka's 50-1 on my bookie right now. He has the same odds as Zhang and Patrick Rogers. So someone who's priced $1,000 higher on DraftKings has the same betting odds as those guys.
That was kind of some Zhang slander. I'm not going to lie.
I'm just saying, if
another bet,
if DraftKings has him, 1,300 higher than Patrick Rogers and 900 higher than Zhang, but the same betting odds, something's off there.
Yeah. That's
so
a good bet.
I'd rather throw, not 50, put like $20 on him and pays out $1,000. It's a good tournament to do it.
I like it.
That'll pay for all my DraftKings football lineups on Sunday right there.
I'll pay for Dustin's move.
No, that was $1,100. All right, 2 of 3 of us have been moving all weekend. So our setups are a little wonky. We'll be back though. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get a little green screen for Dustin, a little backdrop, some key lights.
I just moved, man. I haven't hung up anything.
Yeah. All right. We'll see y'all later.